Maxxine is finally opening up about what's happening with her story, so we're going to check that out. We're also going to check out what's new for LA Knight, Roman Reigns, and more. Starting things off with Maxxine, because after an endless amount of teasing that hasn't really gone anywhere in recent months, progress finally appears to be coming to that story there. This story, of course, being Maxxine aligning with The Vision, and more specifically, Austin Theory. And we saw that big moment a few weeks ago where Maxxine appeared to be telling the Alpha Academy about her plans to link up with Austin Theory and The Vision. And Alpha Academy seemed to be fully against it and told her it's a bad idea. But Maxxine didn't listen and immediately chased after Austin Theory. So although Maxxine has been with the Alpha Academy for a long time, she doesn't really care what they have to say right now and their warnings about staying away from The Vision. She's toning them out and following what her heart wants right now, which appears to be The Vision. Now, Maxxine even lightly touched on the entire situation with Austin Theory and The Vision during a recent interview with Denise Salcedo. Maxxine had this to say about her recent run-ins with The Vision. Quote, "I get along with everyone. I'm friends with all the girls in the locker room. I'm friends with a lot of guys on the roster, and I think that The Vision is doing what The Vision needs to do. And maybe they're a little misunderstood, and I think that if people took the time to get to know them and get to know Austin, that maybe they would feel differently. And I just think that I've gotten to see that other side." End quote. So more subtle clues there that Maxxine is a fan of The Vision, thinks that they're highly misunderstood, and she's obviously a big fan of the side of Austin Theory that not everybody gets to see. We also got another big, subtle teaser for Maxxine's direction on the June 1st edition of Raw. Maxxine approached Raw general manager Adam Pearce and confronted him about why she wasn't included in the bracket for the Queen of the Ring tournament. The Queen of the Ring tournament had 16 available spots at the start of it, and Maxxine was extremely bothered about how a former women's Intercontinental champion like herself can just be fully left out of the entire bracket like that. This segment right here between Maxxine and Adam Pearce most definitely seems like it's meant to push Maxxine further into that direction of aligning with The Vision and turning heel. Through getting left out of the Queen of the Ring tournament, Maxxine is beginning to realize that being a good and patient person, it gets you nothing at all, except for being looked over and excluded from things. If Maxxine wants those types of opportunities, she's going to have to take them and demand it, rather than just sitting by and waiting for them to come to her. That's what she's starting to realize. And in situations like this, with the Queen of the Ring tournament, that's really going to pull her into The Vision. And Austin Theory is the perfect individual to tell Maxxine all about that. You know, Austin Theory was sitting around for years assuming that his hard work and skills was just going to get him where he needed to be. But it never really happened until he started showing more aggression and aligned himself with The Vision. And that's pretty much where Maxxine's character is at right now, too. She's a hard worker. She's been grinding and training. But in order to be acknowledged and have things come her way, she has to add a bit more aggression to her personality and align herself with The Vision. So, after many months of this whole Maxxine and Vision storyline just staying in the same spot, finally seems like some serious progressions being made here for this storyline. After getting left out of the tournament like that, it really seems like this could be the event that really pushes Maxxine to get fully involved with The Vision and dive right into everything there with the group. You know, Maxxine, she's feeling disrespected. Aligning with The Vision may be the one thing that can get her back on track there. Now, LA Knight was recently a guest on Insight, and he opened up about a series of huge topics involving himself. The first thing he addressed was his crowd reactions. They're still massive reactions, but LA Knight shared his view on why he thinks the crowd reactions are no longer as loud as they once were for him a couple years ago. Quote, "The reason it's not as big as it was is because right now I'm just kind of a man without a country, so to speak. I don't have a set trajectory at this moment. You know, if you look at last summer when I started, all of a sudden me and Seth were going for the title, and it's me and The Vision. There it was renewed again. So it's a matter of just making sure that I've got direction, I've got somewhere to go, and I've got somewhere that people care about, and something that people can sink their teeth into that then takes it up from an 8 up to a 10 and beyond. So I think that's really just the key to the whole thing." End quote. And LA Knight is completely right on that. The main thing that he was addressing there was the WWE creative team and their direction for him. It wasn't him directly calling them out. He was just speaking facts. that he has no storyline direction at all during this current moment in time. And having no direction, that can affect how strongly people get behind you or not. If there's a clear path, a clear story, and a clear goal for LA Knight's character, that's going to get fans to really rally behind him. But if LA Knight is on and off television for extended periods of time and doesn't have a clear storyline going, that's certainly going to cool off the crowd reaction a bit. But if he's part of a program that is just absolutely on fire, yeah, the crowd reaction's going to grow. So that's LA Knight's explanation. He feels like if he gets a solid storyline in place for himself, well, then maybe he can get back to those levels of cheers that he was getting in 2023 and 2024. And that wasn't the only thing that LA Knight addressed, by the way. He also touched on his retirement from the ring. He does not see himself wrestling full-time into his 50s, and he mentioned how once he retires from the wrestling ring, he's never going to be seen or heard from again. And he noted, by the way, that he was being very serious about that. Once he's retired from the ring, he's pretty much going to leave the public eye. He did reveal that he would come back to accept something like a spot in the WWE Hall of Fame, but he said that he does have a feeling that he's not going to be ever picked for the Hall of Fame, and how he always just felt underappreciated in the wrestling business. Now, as far as things go for LA Knight at the moment, his focus is on the King of the Ring tournament. But nobody really expects him to actually win that tournament, so once he gets eliminated, he's going to be right back to desperately needing a new storyline and direction again. And hopefully, he does get it. Roman Reigns is really switching things up right now with his current title reign, and he is doing something for the very first time since the birth of his tribal chief persona. And that's winning matches on his own without having to rely on outside interference. Ever since getting Jimmy and Jay to fall in line back in 2020 and 2021, it was a tradition for all of Roman's title defenses to include a spot of the referee going down and then outside interference helping Roman defend his title. That happened quite a lot, and it was one of the biggest things that fans often complained about. Well, now here with Roman's 2026 world title reign, all of his title matches have featured zero outside interference at all. His world title victory itself over CM Punk at WrestleMania 42 was clean, without anybody getting involved. And his two successful title defenses over Jacob also featured no outside interference. Roman was even talking about this in the middle of his match with Jacob, how he was handling this all alone and how nobody was out there with him. So definitely a new approach that they're taking here to Roman's title matches, and I think they fixed one of the biggest things that people were complaining about. But with Jimmy, Jay, and now Jacob standing behind him, fans are starting to wonder if it's only a matter of time before things are just going to go back to normal and Roman's matches start featuring outside interference again. But anyway, what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.